Let me make a general statement, Jason, which is for anybody who's in sales. I would strongly encourage you to not let them get into the mindset, I am selling. No, you're not selling. What you're simply doing is you're screening the prospects that you are meeting. You're evaluating whether you would like to have an ongoing relationship with that person, and you're enabling them to make the same decision. And what you're offering is something that is so valuable, so beneficial to them, that if you lead it right, you never even have to ask for the check. They'll say, well, where do I sign up and what do I do next? Selling has an implication of you're getting somebody to do something that is in your interest. You want the sale, and the revenues, the commissions, or whatever is dependent on that. You're not doing that. You're giving them an opportunity to make a significant improvement in their life. And that's something they want. So they want to do business with you. You're not trying to get them to do business with you. That's an extraordinarily important mindset.
I highly agree. I mean, my concept of selling with love definitely would fit into that
Yes, you
bracket.
would. That's one of the reasons we're having this conversation.
I'd be curious to know what your opinion is on this, because I've had some conversations with a lot of people, and this is a question I always get a little more stuck on, which is when you are finding yourself in a situation where you might be a little needy. Perhaps you have bills to pay, you have some financial obligations that make it so that you have some desperate needs, or at least perceived desperate needs, to make that sale happen so that it can sustain you. Do you find that there's an opportunity to get to a space of selling in the way that you've just described, even as the needs you have around you seem to make you want to take?
Yes. And this is a very difficult one. And trust me, I get this all the time. There are many people, oh my God, I've got to meet my numbers. I've got to make the sale. My family's well being depends on that. Whether or not I can pay my mortgage depends on that. So recognize that when you come from a space of neediness, it is a very repelling force. It just is. But despite that, that's where you are. And you cannot will it away by deciding, I'm not going to be that way. You can't do it. You have to evolve into that. So the first thing is acknowledge your neediness. Okay. Yes, this is where I am at now. This is not where I want to be, but this is where I am now, and acknowledge it. Next, within that space of neediness, say, I need you to do business with me. But nevertheless, I am going to figure out what it is that I can do, which is going to be of genuine benefit for you. And I'm going to lay to the cards. Sometimes, if you're confident enough, you can even lay your neediness on the card. Look, this is what I'm offering. This is how it will benefit you. And right now, it really would help me if you made the decision now rather than later. But if you want to hesitate, that's just fine. I'm just letting you know that if you pull the trigger now, here are these additional things that I can do because, frankly, I need it. And I actually had this played on me sometime. I was shopping for a car, and I met a salesperson who went through all of that, and I wasn't really decided. And he said, look, it would really help me because I have numbers to beat, and this is the end of the sales and end of the month period when the numbers are counted. So it really would help me if you did that. And if you're willing to do that, here's something additional that I'll do simply because I need it. And he was being honest about it. So sometimes if you can take that, you may find it works, but understand that you have to have a very high level of self-confidence before you can say that in a manner that is not off-putting and repelling. And if you were in that space of confidence, you probably wouldn't be that needy anyway. So it's a catch-22.
It is a catch-22, and I want to confess to one thing that happened to me not that long ago. Is I was looking at my cash flow statements and I was like, "Ooh, I'm burning a lot of money this month." And so I called up a friend and I was letting him know that, hey, I'm actually having a tight month and I'd love to be able to do something for you. And he basically said, well, how much do you want? And I said, well, a couple thousands would be really helpful. And when I told him that need and I said, maybe we could do a couple of things, we started brainstorming on ways that I could provide value for the exchange of what was that shortcoming that I had. And it was very easy for me. But again, I think I did have that kind of confidence to have that kind of conversation.
Exactly.
And so I guess if you are not in a position where you're feeling confident, are there certain activities that we can do to nurture that level of confidence so that, we're not stuck with no options at this point?
There are two things playing here, Jason. One, you had that level of confidence, and I know that from having interacted with you for a long time. But over and beyond that, you had a store of goodwill that was built up in your relationship. So when you made your plea or your statement, you weren't instantly rejected. The idea was, gee, Jason's helped me a great deal. What can I do to help him? As opposed to, yeah, call me next month. So the short thing that you can do is always looking out, always be on the lookout for what can I do to help this person. We live in a very me-centered world, Jason, and everything we ever do is around how will this benefit me? Wrong approach. Recognize that you're in a me-centered universe because that's what all your conditioning has been. But make a conscious attempt to get out of it. What can I do that will genuinely help this person? Does not have to be money. Frequently, it is not money. A sincere note of appreciation, a genuine, boy, you're doing a good thing and I support you, go a long, long, long way. Maybe somebody's given a speech that inspired you. Take the time out to send the person who made the speech a note saying, I was really inspired and and be specific. This is what you said and this is how it bears on my life and this is how I plan to use it. Don't be fulsome, but be sincere.